stealing 4 lines from Wikipedia for your speech at Liberty University. So is this true?
We borrowed the plot lines from Gattaca. It's a movie, and I gave credit to the people who wrote the movie. There are technicalities to this, but nothing I said was not given attribution to where it came from.
I know you dismissed that as making a mountain out of a mole, but since then, Politico reported that there were more instances where you used words that first appeared in other places. And I know you dismissed those questions, but do you concede at least that this is pretty sloppy? And don't you have to tighten up your speech-making operation if you indeed do want to have a presidential run?
Well, you know, the footnote police have really been dogging me for the last week. I will admit that. And I will admit sometimes we haven't footnoted things properly. In fact, I've given thousands of speeches, and I don't think I've ever footnoted any of those speeches. In the speech in question, I quoted from 1984, Gattaca, My Left Foot, Michelangelo, Einstein, and Ray Bradbury, among maybe a dozen others. And I attributed everything to them, but I didn't get into the secondary sources and say I quoted Einstein as according to an AP story or as according to Wikipedia. So I think the spoken word shouldn't be held to the same sort of standard that you have if you're giving a scientific paper. I've written scientific papers. I know how to footnote things, but we've never footnoted speeches. And if that's the standard I'm going to be held to, yes, we will change and we will footnote things. Everything in that paper, if I had presented it for an academic or that speech for an academic publication, we'd have had footnotes next to it. In some of the other things that are now going to pop up under thousands of things I've written, yeah, there are times when they've been sloppy or not correct or we've made an error. But the difference is I take it as an insult, and I will not lie down and say people can call me dishonest, misleading, or misrepresenting. I have never intentionally done so. And like I say, if dueling were legal in Kentucky, if they keep it up, it'd be a duel challenge. But I can't do that because I can't hold office in Kentucky.
So what's the fix?
Well, we're going to have to footnote things, like I say. But here's the problem, George. 98% of my speeches are extemporaneous. I spoke for 13 hours on the floor, extemporaneous. And so it is a little bit hard to footnote things accurately. And I'll give you an example. I love the quote from Niall Ferguson, referring to the president saying, oh, the deficit's declining. And Niall Ferguson says, yeah, from super enormous to really, really gigantic. And I love the quote. But is that enough, or do I have to say, as I heard or read on AP story about Niall Ferguson, or as I heard when he was on with George Stephanopoulos? I mean, there is a sort of a certain degree when we're going to say, is that nitpicking? So is referring to the person enough, or do I have to refer to the original source where I got the quote from the person? In an academic paper, even if you paraphrase something, don't even use the same words. Anything's paraphrased has to be sourced. So when I wrote scientific papers, I sometimes had statements with 8 footnotes for 1 sentence. Is that what you want me to do for my speeches? If it's required, I'll do it, but I think I'm being unfairly targeted by a bunch of hacks and haters, and I'm just not going to put up with people casting aspersions on my character.
Okay, that's an extensive answer. Thank you very much, Senator Paul.